Hello, I'm Ron Miscavige, and this is another story time. And I got to tell you, I got a doozy for you today. So let's get right into the story. This takes place in the 60s in Trenton, New Jersey, where I worked at a plant called Hydrocarbon Research. Now, what they did is actually a description in the name. They did research on products like fine coal particles or oil or other hydrocarbon products like that. And I worked there as a technician. Now, to let you know what this place looked like, it was about a half of a city block and a big iron structure. Up front, they had the offices where the research people were and where you gathered for your meetings. But the actual building itself was huge. It was about 2.5 stories tall, and there were all these projects going on inside of it. And as a matter of fact, the first day I walked through there with my foreman, Louis Hallebuck, he says, "You know, Ron, this looks like a bunch of all unfinished projects." And it really did. It wasn't too brightly lit. As a matter of fact, it was quite dark. I guess another way to describe it was it looked like a dark movie set, like from Gotham City or something like that. But anyway, that was the main building. This story takes place at the far end of the building, outside of it. Now, to describe this experiment, I got to take a little time to explain it to you. And here's what it was. There was a tall structure about 6 stories tall, and it was made out of like I-beams. And in the center of that structure, and supported by it, was a stainless steel rod about 1 foot in diameter. In the center of that rod, there was a 2-inch hole that went from the bottom all the way to the top. That rod was wrapped in heating elements to create intense heat in it, and also copper tubing. Follow me on this. What the experiment was they would force coal particles up through that inner hole in the rod rather, under intense heat, mixed with hydrogen, and at the top, you'd get the end product. And as a technician, the people working on that used to have to walk up a set of stairs that went up 6 stories. And let me tell you, in the wintertime, with those stairs that were pretty slippery, it was a bit risky, but they'd have to go to the top to take tests and see how this experiment was doing. So you got that? It's a tower. 6 stories tall, made out of iron. It's open. There's no walls on it or anything. A 2-foot rod all the way up, 2-inch hole, and in that hole, you're forcing coal particles up, tiny particles, wrapped in heating elements and copper wire. Okay, so here's where I fit into that. In a building right in back of it, operated a high-pressure steam boiler. When I say high pressure, it was 150 pounds per square inch pressure, which produces steam that's very hot, because the more pressure you put on water, the higher temperature it has to go to turn into steam. So I monitored that boiler, which was a huge unit, and I monitored the water that went into it to make sure that the salt content wasn't too harsh to ruin the pipes. And I actually stood right at a stainless steel stand-up desk and all day would watch a little peephole in there about that big to see if there was flame in there. That meant that the boiler was working, it was producing steam, and then I'd take readings and put them on a stat sheet about every half an hour. So that's what I did. Now, what was that steam used for? I'll tell you why. You remember I said that rod was surrounded with copper tubing? That steam filled up that copper tubing with a certain amount of heat to stabilize the heat on the entire rod going to the top. If you didn't have that, the heating elements weren't that controllable, and they could create a hot spot so hot that it could melt the rod. And if you melted the rod, the you-know-what hit the fan. Now, in the same building that I was operating that high-pressure steam boiler, in back of me was an oxygen-producing plant that produced liquid oxygen. And by the way, You talk about a bit of insanity. Sometimes the technicians who took tests on it would open up a little valve to get a test in a thermos bottle of it, and they take a lit cigarette and put the tubing on the cigarette to show that it burned down in 2 seconds. You know, fire and oxygen. Adventurous, but a little bit nuts. All right. So now you got that oxygen producing plant and me in the other corner. And all I have to do is keep that light going and make sure the boiler produces the steam to stabilize that experiment. So I'm working a double shift, and I'm about, maybe the 14th or 15th hour in. I'm standing at this desk reading an engineer's manual on how to, operate a high pressure steam boiler. You talk about indoctrination by fire. This was it. Now I'm looking up, kind of sleepy, and I look at the little peephole. The light went out. Let me tell you, I woke up and whoa! At the same time the light went out, I hear this beep, beep, beep signals that we got a dangerous situation starting to happen. Within a minute, my foreman come running over, Louis, and said, "Ron, what's up?" I said, "Louis, the light went out. We have no flame in the boiler. It's not producing steam." He took me outside, and as we're running outside, there was a room there with about, maybe 7 or 8 engineers. And they have this big wall of all these meters of every aspect of the experiment. And you could see them talking to each other, frantically thinking, what the hell is happening? What are we going to do? So the panic starts in there. We run out to where this oil was coming in for the boiler. And it was a real cold winter night, maybe about 20 degrees outside. And there's a pump there that has a meter on it. And we could see that the pressure is before the pump, okay. On the outside where it's pumping the oil out, there's no pressure at all, which means there is a plug in the unit. So Louis said, pick up these pipes. There were some pipes on the ground, and we just beat the thing for about 30 seconds. All of a sudden, the pressure goes up. We see that the plug broke loose. The oil is coming in. We run back into the building, go over to where we were. There's a trapdoor on that high-pressure boiler. He grabs a steel rod with a piece of rag on the end, dips it in gas, literally gas, lit it, put it in, and we turned the oil on, fired it up, closed the door. There it is. We're starting to get steam again. But let me tell you, for about the next 20 or 25 minutes, it was touch and go. We were walking across a tightrope on the Grand Canyon, and there's no safety net at the bottom. Time goes by, calms down, the beep, beep, beep stops. We go in the other room where the engineers are, and they're all looking at each other. It's calm again. Now, here's what could have happened if that got out of control. That could have melted, and it could have happened at the bottom. It could have happened any place. Without the steam, those heat elements could have gone out of control, melted that the stainless steel rod. And if it were at the bottom, the weight of it could have pushed it over. And if it landed on the building that I was in with the oxygen producing plant, it could have blown up part of a city block. We averted that disaster. That was a big deal. Now, let me tell you, at the end of the shift, what normally happens is the engineers, the research people, the technicians, all just go get their lunch boxes and walk out of the place. Within minutes, it's emptied and a new shift is in there. Nobody left for almost an hour, a little bit over an hour. They just stayed in the room, talking to each other, talking about what happened, reviewing this thing, laughing, telling jokes. Do you know what happened? Let me tell you what happened. And this seems to be a law that if you have a group that has a common purpose and you overcome adversity, you become a true group. Follow me now. You have a group that has a common purpose and you overcome some adversity, you then become a true group. I'll give you an example of a true group, the United States Marines. They've overcome adversity thousands of times. How many? I don't know. They have a common purpose, which is to defend this country and protect its citizens. And they've overcome adversity, and they are a true group. As a matter of fact, there's a saying, once a Marine, always a Marine. And that brings up my second point, and that is this. Let's say you enter a group that is a true group, but you weren't part of handling that adversity. Just by being part of it, you assimilate the characteristics of that group. And that's another reason they say, once a Marine, always a Marine. Now look, maybe in your own life, you could recall something that happened. Maybe you and a bunch of your buddies were going to do something. You had some go against you and you beat it and you won. You got a special little group there, but just review it for yourself. I'm sure that most of you out there can recall something in your life where this happened. But whatever, don't take my word on these lessons I'm giving or the things that I'm talking about in life. You got to examine it for yourself. When I say examine it for yourself, review it if you've ever seen like this happen, or maybe something like this happened to you, and then it's true for you. Okay, so that's what I wanted to pass on to you today, and I think it's a pretty valuable piece of information. You also assimilate the moral code of that group when you become part of it, but that's another story. I wanted you to have this because I'm a firm believer that the more you know about life, the happier you're going to be and the more successful you're going to be, which is basically what I wish for all of you. And man, that's the reason I do these. I do wish for you to have a happy life, a healthy life, successful. I do other things, by the way. If you go to my website, therealronmiscavige.com, you'll see the other stuff I do. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Press the bell when you do it. And if you'd care to contribute to the ongoingness of this program, I would appreciate it very much. I really would these days. So that was my talk for today. I hope you benefited from it. And again, have a great time in life. Stay healthy. Be happy. And God bless all of you. I am Ron Miscavige. This has been Storytime. I'll see you on the next one. Till then, bye-bye.